Why would she make a video right after she's cried? Welcome in. Let's talk about shadow work. Shadow work is just not love and light. It's not what the spiritual community always portrays it as. And I wanted to show up very authentically and let you in to a little behind the scenes in process. So hi, I'm Lauren the Mystic. Welcome into my channel. This is not a video that I would normally ever make, but it takes courage to show up sometimes like this. Today, the sun is squaring Pluto, and there's a lot of energy flowing lately in the sky. And for anyone who happens to be cardinal placement, especially all of my fellow Libras out there, we're getting our asses kicked, and we've been getting our asses kicked. And I'm sorry, I should have warned you. Language. We've been getting our butts handed to us by the shadowwork journey of 2024, and it's been really intense. It's been really intense, and it's felt like it's contained this element of a energetic reckoning, or we could even call it a wrecking ball almost. It's had that effect. It's come into our life. Pluto primarily is really doing a number on us, as is the South Node in Libra. And then all of the active energy and the PowerPoint houses of our charts. Right now we've got Mars in the 10th in Cancer, not feeling very comfortable, opposing Pluto in Capricorn in the 4th for us Libras. And, you know, that full moon in Aries just took place across our first 7th house axis. So all of our relationships are being rocked. Things are coming to the surface to be dealt with. And I just got out of my own therapy session, had a good cry, still feeling tearful, looking very much like I've cried. This is not how I would put myself on camera, but it's so incredibly valuable. I don't see anybody doing this. I don't see any real spiritual healers out there bringing themselves forward and letting you see them in their dark moments. So here I am. This is me. And I'm here to let you know that it's always a process. You know, just because you are a healer or gifted in that way does not mean that you're not also in process, that you're not also still on your own healing journey through your soul growth. And it's often been my experience, at least for me, and you know, I'm 47 now, so I've known a few healers, and I guess the ones that I know in my generation, a lot of us have come to our profession through our own wounds. And isn't that symbolic that Chiron right now is over in Aries, was conjunct that full moon that we just moved through. And Chiron representing the wounded healer. Chiron's journey, his archetypal journey, was about seeking healing for himself and discovering healing gifts, and then offering those gifts through his own wounding. He found his gifts and he began to offer those gifts to others. He became the wounded healer. He was still wounded, but transitioned and transformed into healing those around him because of what he went through. And I think that's true for a lot of healers out there. And there's a lot of imposter syndrome that really comes forward into our minds as a healer, as a light worker, as someone who is working with psychic or intuitive gifts and development. We often look at our own shortcomings as some type of reflection of not being good enough, not being, we haven't achieved a certain milestone in order to then be sufficiently able to offer our services out to others. And what I would like to do is to disagree with that. As much of an oxymoron as that feels like for me to say to you at this moment, I disagree with that statement about the idea that there is any type of destination that we'll ever reach in terms of healing. There's no stopping point. There's no stop to growth. Once we are alive, as all of us are, we continue to grow. We continue to evolve the entire time, which means that we're also going to be continued on this continued soul growth journey, on this journey of healing. And I think a lot of us at a soul level signed up for that. We signed up for the healing, and it can be really incredibly uncomfortable. And I don't just think I know, I've witnessed in other people, I've witnessed them running away or walking away from their gifts, from their abilities, from their calling, because they bought into the belief. They bought into the false belief that they were not good enough, that there was something in them that was inadequate, and therefore canceled out whatever their gifts and their abilities that they had to share, and they didn't feel worthy to stand in that place. And there is always a time. I think there's some teeny little bit of validity to the statement, and not teeny in its importance, but teeny in it doesn't happen to be true very often. What I do think is true is that there are going to be periods of time for any person, regardless of if you are a healer or not, regardless of if you are sharing your gifts out there or not. There will be times where, for a moment, you have to pull yourself back from potentially offering services because you may be going through something quite intense at a personal level, and perhaps are simply not your best in those at that time. You might not be in the best capacity, for example, to be undertaking really serious forms of healing work if you yourself are going through something difficult. However, make sure that we're clear on this differentiation that I'm trying to illuminate between going through something difficult and needing to take time for self and step back for a bit from being so forward facing in your work, to because I'm going through something that makes me inadequate as a healer, and therefore I'm no longer qualified to do the work that I know I'm called to do. Those are two separate energies, two different energetic paths. One's aligned with integrity and your truth. The other is allowing false evidence to appear as real. You're allowing your fear of not being good enough, to control a narrative. And so I just wanted to bring, I guess, a multitude of messages with this video. Seems like I'm gearing this more towards healers. But for those of you who are going through an incredibly difficult year, an incredibly difficult period of shadow work, which I really believe is the entire collective. I do understand that as a Libra sun and rising sign, that my butt's getting handed to me, and so maybe I might be experiencing some things harder than other signs, potentially, right? Who's to say? Because almost every good friend I've had this year has regaled multiple tales of incredibly difficult hardship in their personal life. And the energy of 2024 has been that of a reckoning where the structures in our lives on all levels, all level of structure, are really being tested. They're really being shaken to determine their strength and their integrity. And so these structures are not just in the outside world structures that we see around us, such as like government and banking and politics, etc. That's not only the structures that are being affected, it's affecting all the way down to the minutia. So energy, the principle of as without, so within, as within, so without, is that what's going on externally is mirrored internally at even the tiniest micro level. So this is being affected in the structures of our relationships, the structures of our own thoughts and beliefs, and what we believe to be true and real is getting tested, our belief systems. And some of us are having realizations that we have lived in certain patterns for a long time, and that can be really difficult. When you start to recognize, oh, hey, I've been living in functional freeze for years and years. And this is a trauma response that my nervous system has had to dealing with certain circumstances, whether that is toxic stress from life, just being life, or stress from being in unhealthy relationships, or participating in a certain job that maybe wasn't aligned with you, or that took too much from you and you weren't recognizing how much it was exactly taking at the time. We're starting to really see, at least I am, the energetic imprints of what certain circumstances have had on my nervous system over time and on your nervous system over time. I think we're all starting to recognize the energetic implications of anything relating to a relationship. So that is our relationship with self, our relationships with our friends, our parents, our partners, our lovers, our spouses, our children, our work relationships, the companies that we have worked for or do still work for, the companies that we are aligning ourselves to when we make purchases at the store, the people that we're aligning ourselves to when we choose our entertainment, the people that we're aligning ourselves to when we are listening to voices on social media, when we are choosing all the way to who are we going to vote for, if we're going to vote, etc. There is so much that is really being rocked in the American psyche in particular, but the global psyche, the collective psyche. And the shadow work process is something that most people have, in my experience, kind of tucked tail and ran from. A lot of times it's really daunting to consider, okay, I'm going to sit with it. But there's no other option. There's no other option. We can contain it, can choose to hold it, choose to feel like crap, choose to stay stuck, choose to continue to repeat patterns over and again. Even if we leave a circumstance, if we've not sat with it and resolved the issues, sorry, that's my dog. If you hear this in the background, those noises, our house the acoustics are kind of weird and the floor is pretty squeaky. It's a wood floor. My dog is about 100 pounds, so he's big. And when he moves, the noises that come through on the audio, it's something. So I apologize, viewers. Sorry about that. We'll see if I even publish this video based on how I'm looking. But I really wanted to show sometimes the process is really raw. This is authentically part of it. There are emotional waves that will come up. And if you're doing the work, quote unquote, if you're a person who's invested to do the work and do the self-care and work on your energy, the action step is to sit with it. And that can feel like total crap. You will cry. You will have huge emotional releases. You will have to sit with difficult thoughts, fears, wonders. And what our job is to do is to help those feelings come up and out. It is my belief that we have been moving through a period of time of increased light. We're experiencing solar storm 25 ahead of schedule. It peaked at the very beginning month of this year. It started peaking, and it wasn't supposed to peak until next year, 2025, which is why it's named Solar Storm 25. So we have cycles where our sun will peak in its solar activity, and that was scheduled to have started happening next year, but it began January of 2024. And there are some quite gifted astrologers out there who have really made amazing videos about our solar system and how our solar system is moving through this galactic sheet of energy that has sort of opened up our atmosphere in order to receive more. And so that's simultaneously happening at the same time. It's an asteroid belt that we're moving through that's considered to be of high vibrational consciousness. And then we're receiving all of this high vibrational solar light that's coming in. And I've been getting these channeled messages for over a year about shadow work and light, and a lot of the messaging really has to do with the fact that when light is received into a vessel, which you are a vessel and your energy is a vessel, your auric field around you is the full container of that vessel, which has its own boundary, right? It has like a permeable membrane that surrounds the exterior of our auric field. And that is, within that space is that's our energy field. That's ours that we carry with us and we feel into. And when we receive light through our channel, what that does is it has this flushing effect where it's going to clear away any density within your system. And that is how energy healing works. It will, with the law of resonance, the lower vibratory frequencies will begin to vibrate at a higher rate of frequency. And that's part of the energetics, right? And so I really feel that the high vibrational light that we have basically just been cooking and inundated with from the sun, if you've seen any of the graphics of the solar flares, how that solar energy has completely engulfed the earth as it blows past us. But I really think that it's having this effect of clearing away the density, where whatever has been of lower vibratory frequency on this planet. So in all physicality, within our lives, within our thoughts, within our emotions, within the realm of spirit that exists here on the planet, we're seeing it externally big time within the entertainment industry right now. We're seeing it extending even further based on certain events that are taking place where things are getting exposed. Things are coming to the surface. Things are coming up. And what these things are is shadow. It's the lower vibratory frequencies that have existed within a space. So what we're seeing coming up collectively is the lower frequencies that have been existing within the space of the entertainment industry and within pop culture and within society at large, and apparently within people who hold power. And that's incredibly disturbing. There is a lot of cognitive dissonance that can start to take place when we start to have these realizations. Because what it will do is it will rock your world. The things that you have previously believed to be true are no longer true. In comes cognitive dissonance. Depending upon, and this is just my theory here, but depending upon your energetic nature, the energetic nature of, let's say, your sun, moon, rising signs. What are the elements? Are you of a tropical cardinal nature? Are you a double-bodied sign? Are you a fixed sign? This is going to really influence how you are working through your energy. Luckily, I am cardinal nature, so I'm able to flex. I am able to move, to change, and to go, whoa, that was absolutely, you know what, crazy. Okay. And then I start to form a new thing. Those who are very fixed in nature, not going to have such an easy time with some of this stuff. Because when you're fixed, you have a very hard time deviating from what you have held to be true. And that is when you can start to feel crazy. When you're experiencing truth and it is contradictory to what you've always known to be true. And so just know this. Here's, I guess, to sum up what I'm hoping to try to say is that it's a process of sitting with your truth, allowing your truth to speak to you, no matter how difficult it might be to hear. You are worth the difficult conversations, my love. You are worth it. Your heart is worth it. Your soul is worth it. Your energy is worth it. To attend to yourself and allow the fleshing, because that's what it is. And so just set your mind that this is a process where something is moving through you. And so therefore we don't need to attach ourselves to it as it moves through us, but rather we can allow it to just come up, out, clear, be expressed. And if we're able to, if it feels correct in the moment, what we're also doing as it's coming up and out and we're sitting with it and we're hearing the truth and we're listening to the story and we're getting curious about how can I help you self to self here right now to higher self. How can I help you get through this? Then we can start to sometimes transmute the feeling or shift it into a way that does serve us. So maybe we were holding on shame to something that was based on a false belief. And then maybe we have a recognition after sitting with it of what our actual true belief is that we wish to hold instead. And so we may then go, well, I thank you for this experience. I thank you for, self to self again. We're thanking ourselves for the experience of having felt whatever it was so that we could come into a new realization that does actually support what is true for us. And then go into your practices. This is why I always have, I know this is a relatively new channel, but my work as an energy worker and a healer has not been new. And I have always been a humongous advocate of the importance of self-love, but from an energetic perspective. And how I viewed that was having a dedicated and consistent ritualized routine where you have a toolkit of practices that you can pull from, so that if you should encounter difficulty, difficult day, difficult experience, an entire shadow work journey. These are the times that we have to really lean and pull upon our practices of working with our frequency, going back to our frequency. As soon as I stop this video, I'm going to go do a meditation to tune into the frequency of compassion and clear and open my vessel and field and just return all the way back into the highest expression that I can. And what that might do is it might elicit another big cry. It might elicit another emotional response. And you know why that is? It's because it's clearing out anything else residual in the moment that needs to clear in order for me to return back into the frequency that I know I wish to travel forward in, the frequency that I know I wish to hold around myself as I'm going through something difficult. And that's where the power of working with your energy, I think, really can come into play. And utilizing those opportunities to maybe generate some guided journaling prompts for yourself based on what's coming up. If you can start to notice certain themes of, okay, here I am not feeling good enough again, or okay, I'm experiencing fear because I'm afraid of the shift that's taking place in this relationship. But I've experienced that fear before in relationship to this circumstance that's also happened previously in my life. And boy, do they feel the same. And I'm wondering maybe if I still am holding some fear over here at this experiential level that's really related to this old experience that I haven't yet fully processed. And am I bringing that into this current situation that I am trying to process now? We've got to give ourselves time and space to allow everything to clear really as well as it's coming up. To me, that going back into that, what I consider to be that center point, the guidance system within our heart space, that vibratory frequency, not only does it replenish your energy and soothe your nervous system and bring you back into that state of peace, that state of calm, but what it's doing is it's activating a sense of coherence within your body, a sense of being able to hold the poles, to hold the duality of the high and the low, or the yin and the yang, whichever, the light and the shadow, however you want to view that. It's like the flower of life, y'all. It continues to, as within, so without, it's reflective in all things. So when we can bring that sense of coherence in and just allow ourselves to sit in a space where we're holding it all, we're allowing the light and the shadow to have a home within our heart, what will happen is some of that noise, some of the things that have gotten stirred up will start to find their peace, find their calm. They'll start to settle. That's a good word to use, settle. They will settle down and they will find some clarity, but it can take a while. And so we've got to stay with it. You just stay with the process. You continue to work with it and give yourself grace. It might not happen overnight. You might be in a time where you go months on end without feeling that total sense of clarity. So maybe right now it's less about what your mind can understand and more about what your energy can process and what your heart can feel. And allowing those things to move through you. There is still this water trine energy that is in the air. And Venus did just move into Sag, and so that shifted the energy. But there's still so much water in the sky, as we've seen, having its effects on everything. Physical, emotional, spiritual. And so one of the best advice pieces of advice that I was ever given was to begin to think of your own emotionality, to know that it's intimately connected to the water element, and then allow yourself to lean into that connection so that you can work with the waters of your own body and work with some of the qualities that water contains. Its ability to flow through difficulty, its ability to eventually wear down something that might be stiff, might be rigid, might not want to move. You know, you might be carrying some deep-seated trauma that's pretty stiff and rigid, and maybe it doesn't want to budge, right? But by allowing the water to flow, eventually it will move. Eventually it's going to wear down. Eventually there's going to be a release. And so staying with that flow of allowing the flow to take place. Don't try to dam it up. Don't try to stop it. I know that's hard because it's not convenient, is it? It's not always convenient to have a shadowy day. We might have things on our schedule, an agenda that we have to adhere to that we feel like we need to force ourselves maybe through in order to achieve a goal, when what our body, what our mind, what our heart might be needing us to do most is to go and to tend to yourself. So at moments where you can choose that, try to choose that. I know we all have lives to live and we've got obligations that we've got to meet and work on. But when we have that ability to ask for that grace and take care of our own needs first, it's incredibly liberating to your inner child, to your relationship to self, because that to me is actually much more in line with true energetic self-care. You're listening to yourself and you're honoring the signals. So, long ramble. Sorry about that. Felt important to share with you all. So I hope that somebody gets some kind of benefit from this. Take care, and I'll see you soon. And if you would like to work on a meditation to begin to work on your energy, if this is coming up for you, if you're struggling, if you are like, oh, Lauren, I am in a shadow journey, then it is really important to link to 2 meditations that I have so far actually up. I have more on the way. They're just not fully executed and recorded because, as you can see, I'm in the process of my own shadow work journey. But I'm putting the first 2 practices, which are the beginning, most important ones, up. And it's about working with your own, creating your own energetic sovereignty so that you can clear your field, clear your field from energies that might be hanging out within that field that are related to maybe some of the shadow work that you're going through. But it's really about calling all of your energy back into your heart and back into your body and back into a state of presence. And then also disconnecting and clearing any open energetic cords that you're able to other people, places, things, and circumstances that might continue to have these open energy flowing to them. And to just reclaim your energetic sovereign self. And then from that space, beginning to open up, there's a second meditation to assist with using the frequency of compassion, what I was just telling you I'm going to go do for myself. It's my medicine too, it's my energetic medicine too, these meditations, and just working with that frequency of compassion to then open up your chakras, bring them all back into coherence, open yourself up as an energetic channel, and connect from your heart into the heart of Mother Nature, the Divine Mother. pulling that back up into your heart space, and from there connecting your combined love light up and out. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Up and out into universal consciousness, into the source of all that is, into the frequency of God, and drawing that deep down into your heart. And then from that space, filling your entire field with it, allowing it to cleanse you and bring you back into your highest vibratory frequency that you're able to carry. And then we slowly get through this one breath at a time. That's how we do it. All right, take good care. Have a beautiful day, and I somehow hope this helped.